Dr. Namju stared at the screen, her eyes wide with disbelief. The readings from the deep-sea sensors made no sense. She had been studying hydrothermal vents for 15 years, but she had never seen patterns like these. Do-Yun, come look at this, she called to her colleague. Dr. Kim Do-Yun walked over from his workstation at the Mariana Trench Extended Research Facility, his coffee mug still in hand. The facility sat on a massive floating platform, anchored above the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. Outside the reinforced windows, storm clouds gathered on the horizon, but inside, the air buzzed with excitement. These energy signatures, Zhu pointed at the screen. They're too regular. Natural vents don't behave like this. She pushed her dark hair back from her face, a habit she had when she was onto something big. Do-Yun leaned closer, nearly spilling his coffee. The temperature fluctuations, they're almost like a pattern, like a heartbeat. His voice was quiet, but Zhu could hear the amazement in it. The discovery had started 3 days ago, when their deep-sea drones detected a new vent system at 12,500 meters. That alone was exciting. New vents meant new chances to study life in extreme conditions, but these readings suggested something more. Captain Lee Mayung entered the lab, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. "Dr. Nam, you asked for me." She was known for her calm approach to unusual situations, which was exactly what they needed now. "Yes, Captain." Zhu pulled up a 3D map of the ocean floor. "Look at these structures around the new vents." She pointed to several dome-like formations that seemed to form a perfect circle around the main vent. "Those aren't natural," Mayung said immediately. Her years of submarine experience had taught her what to expect at these depths. This wasn't it. Park Hyun-ki, their AI systems specialist, joined them, tablet in hand. "I've run every analysis we have," he said. "The symmetry in those structures has a 0.01% chance of being natural formation." Kang Suman, who had been quietly studying rock samples in the corner, spoke up. "The mineral composition is unlike anything in our database too. These weren't formed by normal geological processes." The team looked at each other, each understanding what this might mean. They had trained for years to work in Earth's most extreme environment, but nothing had prepared them for this. "We need to go down there," Zhu said firmly. "Not just the drones. We need to see this ourselves." Captain Mayung nodded slowly. "The Deep Seeker is ready. We can prep for a dive in 6 hours." The Deep Seeker was their most advanced submersible, built to withstand the crushing pressures of the deepest ocean. "The storm's getting worse," Do-Yun warned, glancing out the window where lightning now flashed across the dark sky. "We can't wait," Zhu insisted. "If there's something down there." She didn't finish the sentence. They all knew the stakes. Over the next few hours, the facility buzzed with activity. The team prepared their equipment, checked and double-checked their life support systems, and loaded their instruments into the Deep Seeker. As they worked, Zhu couldn't help but think about what they might find. The ocean depths had always held secrets, but this felt different. The patterns they were seeing suggested purpose, design, intelligence. Just before they were ready to launch, Zhu took one last look at the data. The energy signatures had changed again, becoming even more regular, almost like they were responding to the team's presence above. "All systems check complete," Hyun-ki announced. "A navigation systems are online. Life support optimal," Do-Yun added, running through his final checks. Captain Mayung took her place at the Deep Seeker's controls. "Team, this is a historic moment. Whatever we find down there will change our understanding of life on Earth." As the launch countdown began, Zhu felt a mix of excitement and fear. In all her years of research, she had dreamed of a discovery like this. Now that it was happening, it felt almost unreal. The Deep Seeker's systems hummed to life. Above them, the facility's massive launch bay doors began to open, revealing the dark, stormy ocean below. They were about to journey deeper than any human crew had gone before, to investigate something that shouldn't exist. Juwu took her seat, strapping in. "Let's make history," she said quietly, as the Deep Seeker began its descent into the unknown depths of the Pacific Ocean. The Deep Seeker cut through the dark water like a knife. At 10,000 meters, the pressure outside was enough to crush a car into the size of a soda can. Inside the submersible, the team watched their depth gauge with growing tension. 11,000 meters, Captain Mayang announced. Her hand stayed steady on the controls. All systems normal. Dr. Nam Juwu checked her instruments for the 100th time. The energy readings were getting stronger. "We're getting close to the source," she said. The darkness outside was complete, broken only by the Deep Seeker's powerful lights. Strange creatures, some never seen before, darted away from the beams. 12,000 meters, Mayang called out, approaching the vent field. Suddenly, their lights caught something that made everyone gasp. Rising from the ocean floor were the mysterious dome structures they had seen in their scans. But now they could see that the domes had patterns on them, perfect geometric shapes that couldn't have been made by nature. "Starting recording," Park Hyung-ki said, his fingers flying over his console. "All cameras active." Dr. Kim Do-yeon prepared the probe, a specially designed robot that could withstand even more pressure than their submersible. Probe systems check complete. Ready for deployment. "Launch the probe," Mayang ordered. They watched on their screens as the probe detached from the Deep Seeker and moved toward the nearest dome. Its lights revealed more details of the strange structure. The surface wasn't rock or metal, but something else, something that seemed to shimmer and shift in the probe's lights. "Look at the heat signatures," Kang Soo-min said, pointing to her screen. The domes were radiating heat in regular pulses, using the energy from the nearby hydrothermal vent. The probe got closer to the surface of the dome. Juwu leaned forward, her heart pounding. Then something extraordinary happened. Part of the dome's surface began to move, not like a door opening, but like a ripple in water. The shimmering material formed a shape that rose up to meet the probe. "That's impossible," Do-yeon whispered. "At this pressure, nothing should be able to move like that." The shape was roughly cylindrical, about the size of a person. It glowed softly with its own light, different from the probe's beams. As they watched, more shapes emerged from the other domes. "They're alive," Juwu said in amazement. "They're silicon-based life forms. They must use the heat and minerals from the vents to survive." The creatures, there was no other word for them, began to move in what looked like a dance around the probe. They left trails of light as they moved, creating patterns similar to the energy signatures that had first caught Juwu's attention. "They're trying to communicate," Hyung-ki realized. He quickly adjusted the probe's sensors. "They're using heat and light patterns. The AI is detecting regular sequences." Inside the Deep Seeker, no one spoke for several minutes. They were watching the first contact between humans and an intelligent species that had evolved in Earth's most extreme environment. One of the creatures moved closer to the probe. It changed color from a soft blue to a bright silver, and its surface formed complex patterns that pulsed with light. "The patterns match Earth's basic mathematical constants," Hyung-ki said excitedly. "They're showing us they understand mathematics. They're intelligent." Suddenly, all the creatures stopped moving. They arranged themselves in a circle around the probe. And then, as one, they pointed toward the Deep Seeker. "They know we're here," Mayang said quietly. "They know we're watching." The creatures began to pulse with light in a new pattern. Faster, more complex. The probe's sensors were barely keeping up with the data. "They're inviting us closer," Juwu said, understanding dawning on her face. "They want to show us something." Captain Mayang looked at her crew. They had trained for many things, but not for this. "Dr. Nam, what's your recommendation?" Juwu took a deep breath. Everything she had worked for had led to this moment. "We accept their invitation. But carefully. These beings have survived in the most extreme environment on Earth. They might have much to teach us." As the Deep Seeker slowly moved forward, guided by Mayang's skilled hands, The creatures formed a path through their domes, leading the way to something that glowed brighter than all the rest. The team was about to learn that the true wonders of Earth weren't in the stars above, but in the depths below. Back at the Mariana Trench Extended Research Facility, Park Hyung-ki hadn't slept for 2 days. His desk was covered with empty coffee cups as he studied the patterns of light and heat the creatures had shown them. "Look at this," he called to Dr. Nam Joo, who was reviewing video footage nearby. "These patterns repeat every time they point to something physical, like this sequence here when they pointed to the probe." Joo walked over, her own tiredness forgotten in the excitement of possible breakthrough. The creatures, which they now called the Shimmer in Dark, had been interacting with their probe for hours. "So they have words," she said, "or at least signals that mean specific things." Dr. Kim Do-yeon joined them, carrying fresh coffee for everyone. "But how do they think? Their brains must be completely different from ours." Hyung-ki typed rapidly on his keyboard, and new patterns appeared on his screen. "I've been feeding all their signals into our AI system. It's starting to find similarities with how we process language." The screen showed waves of light and heat mapped against basic human words. The AI had been working non-stop to find patterns and meaning in the alien signals. "They use heat like we use sound," Hyun-ki explained, "and light like we use facial expressions. The patterns aren't random, they're grammar." Captain Lee Myung entered the lab with Kang Sumin. They had just finished preparing the Deep Seeker for another dive. "Any progress?" Myung asked. "We need to understand them before we can safely approach their main structure." "Show them what you just found," Joo urged Hyun-ki. Hyun-ki pressed a few keys, and a 3D model appeared on the main screen. It showed how the Shimmer in Dark used the heat from the vents to power what looked like living computers within their bodies. "They're silicon-based life forms that evolved to use Earth's heat as energy," he explained. "But they're also natural computers. They think in patterns, like our machines do. That's why their language looks like code," Do-yeon said, understanding dawning on his face. Hyun-ki nodded excitedly. "Exactly. And I've programmed our AI to think the same way. Watch this." He turned to the probe's control panel and sent a series of heat pulses into the water. They waited nervously. A few moments later, the Shimmer in Dark responded with their own pattern. "What did you say to them?" Sumin asked. "I said hello," and they replied with their word for greeting. The AI translated it as, "Warmth flows between us." Everyone in the room fell silent, taking in the weight of this moment. They had just started real communication with an intelligent species that had evolved completely separately from surface life. "Ask them how long they've been here," Joo suggested. Hyun-ki sent another pattern. The response came back as waves of light and heat that the AI quickly translated. They say they were here before the surface was cold," Hyun-ki read in amazement. "They've been here for millions of years, using the Earth's heat to power their civilization." "All this time," Myung said softly, "we were looking for intelligent life in the stars, and they were right here under our oceans." The Shimmer in Dark sent another message, longer this time. As the AI translated it, Hyun-ki's eyes grew wide. "They want to show us their memory library," he said. "They've been recording Earth's changes through the ages. They've watched continents move. They've seen species come and go. They've been keeping a record of our planet's entire history. Can they share this knowledge with us?" Joo asked eagerly. Hyun-ki sent the question. The answer came back quickly. "Yes," he said, "but they say we must learn to think in heat and light first. They want to teach us their way of understanding the world." Joo looked at her team. They were tired, but their eyes were bright with excitement. They were about to learn history from creatures who had watched Earth evolve. "Tell them we're ready to learn," she said. As Hyun-ki sent the message, none of them knew that this was just the beginning of what the Shimmer in Dark would show them about their world and about themselves. The first tremor caught everyone by surprise. Coffee cups rattled on desks, and warning lights flashed across the facility's control panels. "Seismic activity detected," The facility's AI announced calmly. Magnitude 5.2, depth 12,000 meters. Kang Suman rushed to her geology station, her fingers flying over the controls. "That's right near the Shimmer in Dark settlement," she said, her voice tense. Dr. Nam Ju-woo and Dr. Kim Do-yeon exchanged worried looks. They had spent the last week learning from the deep-sea beings, but they had never seen them agitated like this. The Shimmer in Dark were sending urgent patterns of light and heat. Park Hyunki's translation AI worked quickly to decode them. "They're saying their home is in danger," Hyunki reported. "The plate movement is changing the chemical mix in their vent system. The water's getting too hot, even for them." Another tremor shook the facility, stronger this time. Captain Lee Myung steadied herself against a console. Magnitude 6.0, the AI updated. Structural integrity at 92% and falling. "We need to help them," Ju-woo said firmly. "They've survived down there for millions of years. We can't let them die on our watch." Myung nodded. "Prep the Deep Seeker. But we need a plan. At these depths, one wrong move could kill us all." Do-yeon pulled up the facility's 3D maps. "The tremors are getting stronger because the seafloor is spreading faster than normal. It's changing the pressure in the magma chambers under the vents." The Shimmer in Dark sent another message. When the AI translated it, Hyunki's face went pale. "They say we have less than 6 hours before their main heat exchanger fails. Without it, their whole civilization will freeze." "Can't they move to another vent system?" Suman asked. "No," Ju-woo explained. "They evolved to survive in these exact conditions. Moving them would be like asking humans to live on Mars without any equipment." Another tremor hit, and warning sirens began to sound. "Structural integrity at 85%, the AI warned. Recommended evacuation in 1 hour if tremors continue." Captain Myung took charge. "Dr. Kim, what if we use the Deep Seeker's cooling systems to help stabilize their heat exchanger?" Do-yeon's eyes lit up. "We could reverse the flow. Instead of keeping us cool, we use it to help control their vent temperatures." He paused. "But that would mean our life support systems would only last half as long down there." "How long would that give us?" Myung asked. 3 hours at most." Ju-woo stepped forward. "That's all we need." "Suman, can you predict where the next big tremors will hit?" Suman studied her charts. "I think so. The pattern is unusual but not random. They're moving in a spiral pattern around the main vent." "Then we go now," Myung decided. "Hyunki, tell the Shimmer in Dark our plan. We need them to guide us to their heat exchanger." As the team rushed to prepare, another message came from the Silicon beings. This time, it was different. "They say no humans have ever risked their lives for them before." Hyunki translated. "They want to share something with us first, just in case we don't succeed." The message that followed was a string of complex patterns. As the AI decoded it, everyone in the room stood in stunned silence. "It's their complete biological database," Hyunki whispered. "Everything they know about living in extreme environments. Secrets that could help us survive anywhere in the universe." "Tell them we'll do more than save their data," Ju-woo said firmly. "We're going to save their whole civilization." As the team boarded the Deep Seeker, the facility shook with the strongest tremor yet. They had 3 hours to save a species that had survived since the dawn of life on Earth. The pressure was intense, both literally and figuratively. Captain Myung started the launch sequence. "Everyone ready?" They all nodded. They knew the risks. They also knew this was what humans did best, facing impossible odds to help others survive. The Deep Seeker plunged into the dark water, racing against time to save their new allies in the depths. The Deep Seeker settled next to the main heat exchanger of the Shimmer in Dark civilization. Even as they worked to save the vent system, Kang Suman couldn't stop staring at the amazing structure before them. "The way they channel the Earth's heat," she said in wonder. "It's like they're speaking to the planet itself." 3 Shimmer in Dark beings glided around the submersible, their bodies glowing with patterns that Park Hyunki's AI quickly translated. They're showing us how their heat exchangers work, Hyunki said, his eyes fixed on his screen. It's incredible. They don't just use the heat, they can control how the minerals crystallize in the water. Dr. Nam Ju-woo watched as one of the beings demonstrated, causing a stream of hot water to spiral in a perfect pattern. The minerals in the water formed delicate structures that looked like living crystal lace. Ask them how they learned to do this, she said to Hyunki. The answer came back in waves of light and heat. They say they learned from the Earth's core itself. They can feel the patterns of heat flow through the planet's crust. Dr. Kim Do-yeon checked their life support systems. 2 hours of air left. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it soon. Captain Lee Myung kept the deep seeker steady as more tremors shook the ocean floor. Dr. Nam, what have you learned that could help us? Ju-woo's face lit up with an idea. The shimmer in dark don't just survive in these vents, they understand them completely. Suman, could their knowledge help us predict where the crust is weakest? Suman nodded excitedly. If they can really feel the heat patterns in the crust. Hyunki, ask them to show us where the pressure is building up. The silicon beings spread out around the vent field. Their bodies began to pulse with synchronized light patterns. On Suman's screens, a detailed map of the underground heat flows appeared. This is amazing, Suman whispered. They're showing us things our best equipment could never detect. Look at these magma channels. They're all connected. One of the shimmer in dark moved closer to the submersible's window. It changed its surface to create a mirror-like effect, showing the humans their own reflection. They're trying to tell us something else, Hyunki said as he translated new patterns. They're amazed by us too. By us? Do-yeon asked, surprised. Why? They say we're incredible because we can adapt to so many different environments. They've watched life on the surface change and evolve, but they've never seen anything like humans before. We can survive almost anywhere, create tools for any situation, and work together to solve problems. Another tremor shook the area, stronger than before. The shimmer in dark's light patterns became more urgent. They want to show us one more thing. Hyunki translated quickly. Something they've never shared with any other species. The three beings moved together, their bodies merging into a single form that glowed with incredible patterns. The water around them began to move in strange ways, and the minerals in it formed shapes that seemed to defy physics. They're showing us how they build their homes, Suman realized. The domes we saw, they grow them using the mineral-rich water from the vents. Ju-woo's eyes widened. That's it. Do-yeon, could we use their mineral-growing technique with our cooling system? Do-yeon studied the patterns the beings were creating. Yes, we could create a natural support structure around their heat exchanger. It would act like a pressure valve, keeping the water temperature stable even if the vent flow changes. The shimmer in dark separated again, their patterns showing what Hyunki translated as excitement. They had never imagined combining their ancient knowledge with human technology. We'll need to work fast, Myung said, checking their remaining air supply. But together, we might just save their home. As humans and silicon-based beings began working together, sharing their knowledge and skills, they all realized something important. True understanding wasn't just about learning each other's languages. It was about seeing the universe through each other's eyes. With 1 hour of air left in the Deep Seeker, Dr. Nam Ju-woo stared at the data on her screen. What the shimmer in dark had just told them changed everything. Their whole vent system is dying, she explained to her team. Not just because of the tremors. The Earth's crust is slowly shifting away from the hot spot that's been feeding these vents for millions of years. Captain Lee Myung looked troubled. How long do they have? Without help, maybe 10 years, Kang Suman said, studying her geological charts. After that, the water here will be too cold for them to survive. The shimmer in dark floated nearby, their bodies glowing softly with what the team had learned to recognize as sadness. Through Park Hyunki's translation system, They shared their story. They say they've survived mass extinctions, ice ages, and the birth of new oceans. Hyunki translated. But this time is different. The changes are too fast for them to adapt. Dr. Kim Do-yeon had been quiet, running calculations on his tablet. Now he spoke up. We could help them. With their knowledge of mineral control and our technology, we could build artificial heat channels, keep their home warm even after the natural vents die. But that would mean permanently changing the geology of this part of the ocean floor. Suman warned. We don't know how that might affect the planet's natural systems. Another tremor shook the deep seeker. Warning lights flashed as their oxygen levels dropped further. We need to decide now, Mayung said firmly. Either we help them maintain their home artificially, or we watch an ancient civilization die. The shimmer in dark sent new patterns, which Hyunki quickly translated. His eyes widened. They say they don't want us to risk damaging Earth's systems for them. They've been guardians of the deep for millions of years. They would rather fade away than harm the planet they've watched over for so long. Ju shook her head. There has to be another way. Do-yeon, what if we think smaller? Instead of changing the whole area, could we create a limited system? Something that works with Earth's natural processes instead of fighting them. Do-yeon's fingers flew over his tablet. Maybe, yes. Look at this. He showed them a design. We could build a network of small heat exchangers. They would use the natural movement of the plates to channel heat where it's needed, like a river system. Would that work? Mayung asked the shimmer in dark through Hyunki. The silicon beings studied the design, their bodies flickering with rapid patterns as they communicated among themselves. Finally, they responded. They say it could work, Hyunki translated. But they have a condition. They want to teach us everything they know about Earth's deep systems first. They say if humans are going to help maintain the planet's heat flows, we need to understand them as well as they do. How long would that take? Suman asked. They say at least a year of learning. They want to be sure we truly understand the responsibility. Ju looked at her team. They were all tired, running low on air, and far from home. But they were also on the edge of gaining knowledge that could change humanity's understanding of Earth forever. We can't let them die, she said. Not when we can save them. Their knowledge, their culture, their understanding of Earth, it's too precious to lose. The shimmer in dark began to glow brighter, creating patterns more complex than any the team had seen before. They're sharing their thoughts about us, Hyunki translated, his voice full of wonder. They say that in all their millions of years watching life evolve, they've never seen a species willing to learn so much to help others. They say maybe that's why we've spread so far across the Earth, because we care about more than just our own survival. Captain Mayung checked their systems one last time. 45 minutes of air left. Just enough time to start the emergency heat exchanger and get back to the surface. Are we all agreed? Everyone nodded. They had made their choice. They would help the shimmer in dark survive. And in return, they would learn secrets about their planet that no human had ever known. 1 year had passed since the team's first contact with the shimmer in dark. The Mariana Trench Extended Research Facility had grown twice its original size, with new labs dedicated to studying deep-sea technologies. Dr. Kim Do-yeon stood at his workstation, surrounded by 3D models of the new heat exchange system. Beside him, a shimmer in dark being glowed with patterns that showed excitement. They had named it First Light of Understanding, though the humans called it First for short. The mineral matrix is growing exactly as planned, Do-yeon said, pointing to the screens. First people have taught us more about controlling underwater crystals than we learned in 50 years of research. Dr. Nam Ju-woo watched as the live feeds showed the network of small heat exchangers taking shape on the ocean floor. The crystals grew like living things, forming channels that could direct the hot water from dying vents to where it was needed most. It's beautiful, she said, like underwater trees made of light. Park Hyunki's translation system had grown more sophisticated over the year. Now it could translate the shimmer in dark's patterns almost instantly. First's response appeared on the screen. We shape the crystals, but your machines give them purpose. Together, we create things neither of us could make alone. Captain Lee Myung entered the lab with Kang Suman. They had just returned from testing the new deep-sea vehicles designed with shimmer-in-dark help. These ships could now move through the deep water as easily as the silicon beings themselves. The test results are perfect, Myung announced. The new hull design cuts through the water like nothing we've ever built before. Suman spread out her latest geological maps. And look at this, the pressure readings around the vent field are stabilizing. The crystal network is actually helping to prevent earthquakes by spreading out the stress on the crust. First move to the center of the room, its body creating complex patterns that the humans had learned meant deep thought. Your people surprise us every day, it communicated. You take our ancient knowledge and find new ways to use it that we never imagined. Another shimmer in dark entered the lab. This one was called Keeper of Deep Memories, their chief historian. It had spent the past year teaching the humans about Earth's history from their unique perspective. The crystal network is more than a tool, Keeper shared through the translator. It is a bridge between our ways of living. For millions of years, we watched life above us change and grow. Now, for the first time, we are part of that change. Do-Yun pulled up new diagrams on the main screen. We're ready for the final phase. Once we activate the main pump system, the network will be self-sustaining. It will use the natural movement of the plates to keep the water flowing, just like Earth's original vent systems. Jiwoo turned to First. Are your people ready? Once we start, there's no going back. The old vent system will shut down completely. First's patterns showed what they now recognize as confidence. We have lived through the death of oceans and the birth of continents. Change does not frighten us. What matters is that we face it together. The team gathered around the control station. Years of work, combining ancient knowledge with modern technology, had led to this moment. The new system would not just save the shimmer in dark. It would help humans better understand and protect Earth's deep ocean environments. Starting main sequence, Do-Yun announced. His fingers moved across the controls, activating pumps and power systems thousands of meters below. On the screens, they watched as the crystal network began to glow. The shimmer in dark had taught them how to infuse the minerals with bioluminescent properties, making the entire system visible in the dark depths. Power levels stable, Myung reported. Crystal growth patterns normal. Pressure readings optimal, Suman added. The network is responding exactly as designed. First and Keeper began to pulse with patterns of pure joy, creating waves of light that filled the lab with rainbow colors. The translation appeared on all screens. Two kinds of life, born on the same planet, but in different worlds, working together to create something new. Perhaps this is why the universe made us so different, so that one day we could show what is possible when we combine our strengths. As the new system hummed to life deep beneath the waves, humans and shimmer in dark alike knew they had done more than solve an engineering problem. They had proven that no challenge was too great when different species worked together, each bringing their own wisdom to create something greater than themselves. 5 years after the first contact with the shimmer in dark, Dr. Nam Jiwoo stood at the window of the new Deep Ocean Research Center. The facility now stretched across the surface of the Pacific Ocean like a floating city, but the real wonders were below. Through the special viewing panels the shimmer in dark had helped them create, she could see the network of crystal channels glowing in the deep. They looked like rivers of light flowing through the darkness. Still can't believe how far we've come, Captain Lee Myung said, joining her at the window. She had chosen to stay on as the center's head of operations, turning down several promotions to space missions. Why go to space, she often said, when we have an alien civilization right here on Earth? Dr. Kim Do-Yun walked in with first light of understanding, their original shimmer in dark friend. First's body glowed with the gentle patterns that meant it was happy. The new student group arrives today, Do-Yun said. First has agreed to teach them about deep-sea mineral formation. This was perhaps their greatest achievement, the creation of the first school where humans and Shimmer in Dark could learn from each other. Students came from all over the world to study the mysteries of Earth's deep places. Park Hyung-ki entered the room carrying his latest translation device. It was now small enough to fit in a pocket and could instantly translate between human languages and Shimmer in Dark patterns. "Remember when we thought they were just strange formations on a sensor reading?" he asked, smiling at the memory. Kang Suman joined them, carrying rock samples from their latest deep expedition, and now were using their crystal growing techniques to heal damaged coral reefs and clean polluted waters. First created patterns that the translator converted to words. "We have learned as much from you as you have from us. Your way of solving problems, of trying new things, it has changed our people forever." Through another window, they could see a group of Shimmer in Dark teaching human scientists how to feel the patterns of heat in the Earth's crust. In another area, human engineers worked with the silicon beings to design new types of underwater habitats. "Did you see the latest data from the Arctic project?" Do-hyun asked excitedly. "The crystal networks are helping slow down ice melt by managing ocean temperature flows." Ji-woo nodded. Working with the Shimmer in Dark had given them tools to fight climate change that they never thought possible. But more than that, it had taught humanity an important lesson about life itself. A young Shimmer in Dark, one born after the first contact, drifted into the room. Its patterns showed the quick, energetic rhythms of youth. Unlike its elders, it had grown up knowing humans as friends and teachers. "The new students are here," Hyung-ki announced, checking his tablet. 20 marine biology students, 15 engineering students, and 10 young Shimmer in Dark ready to start learning. First glowed brightly. Each new group brings fresh ideas, new ways of seeing. Together, we grow stronger. Ji-woo watched as the first students entered the facility below. She saw their faces fill with wonder as they saw their first Shimmer in Dark, just like she had felt 5 years ago. "You know what still amazes me," she said to her friends. "We spent so much time and money looking for intelligent life among the stars. But the most incredible species on Earth was right here, in our own oceans, waiting for us to be smart enough to find them." The young Shimmer in Dark created patterns that made everyone laugh when translated, and waiting for you to build better sensors. As the sun set over the Pacific, the crystal networks in the deep began their evening glow, a combination of natural bioluminescence and human engineering. It was a perfect symbol of what the two species had created together, a bridge between two worlds that had shared the same planet for millions of years without knowing each other existed. The legacy of their discovery wasn't just in the new technologies or scientific knowledge. It was in proving that two completely different forms of life could work together, learn from each other, and build something greater than either could imagine alone. In the depths of Earth's oceans, humanity had finally found not just alien life, but true friends. And together, they were ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring.